Good morning and welcome. It really is wonderful to see so many people here this morning to honour a remarkable human being, our guest of honour, Mr. Eddie Jaku, OAM, who is a much-loved member of our Moriah family. We are paying tribute to Eddie on the occasion of his approaching 100th birthday, please God, and his nomination for New South Wales Senior of the Year, and for being such a remarkable role model for our community and really for humanity. My name's Judy Lowy and it's a pleasure to welcome you here today. Eddie has been married to his wife Flor for 73 or 74 years, I think. And we are sorry that she couldn't make it here today, but I especially want to welcome some of Eddie's family and friends. His son Andre and his wife Eva, and his granddaughter Carly, who you can see is the apple of his eye, who has come from Melbourne to be here this morning. Eva and Carly are Moriah alumni, and Carly was a much-loved teacher at Moriah for so many years. And I've just seen that because we just saw Eddie address the whole assembly. And afterwards all the children ran up to Eddie, but all the teachers ran up to Carly. So it's fantastic to have you back, Carly. I'd also like to welcome Stephen Jankelovitz, our college president, and my fellow directors from both the Moriah Foundation and Moriah College boards, as well as life patrons, the chairman of trustees, Robert Gooch, and other trustees who are here today. Rabbi Smuckler, College Principal, Roberta Gooch, Deputy Principal, members of the College Executive and other staff who have joined us here this morning. Our Moriah Foundation members, parents, members of the Grandparents Club, alumni, our student leaders, and Nick Casimati from the CBA. I'd like to also thank our talented musicians who just had to run off to class, but I thank them personally. Jaden Kuris, Joel Ilsa, Benjamin Milner and Jacob Kosef for playing the string quartet, and to their conductor Elizabeth Hollowell. I really do feel privileged to be here to honour Eddie today. I have always felt it such a privilege, and I know anybody who's heard him feels the same, and I've discussed that this morning with many of you, that every single time, Eddie, over the years, it really feels a privilege to listen to you. I would never have imagined that I'd be in a position to speak about you publicly and to be able to honour you like I have the opportunity to do today. Every survivor of the Shoah is a miracle. Every survivor's story should be heard and never forgotten. Eddie's story is one that makes an unforgettable impact on all who hear it, students and adults alike. And I was just sitting in the assembly thinking to myself that really you make us take the time to pause and reflect and to really appreciate all that we have in our lives. Everybody has challenges, but we really are beyond blessed to be living in the country we live in as proud and free Jews, and to have the comforts that I know that you've never taken for granted since you survived. Eddie was born in Germany in 1920, a place that he and his family considered their home, until on the 9th of November 1938 on Kristallnacht, Eddie was beaten by the Nazis and taken to Buchenwald. Eddie endured unimaginable hardships over the next 7 years, which I'm sure he will tell you about when he speaks. And despite all the horrors, thank God, he managed to survive. And when you hear him tell his story, you will understand that it surely was part miracle, but part Eddie's resourcefulness and his brain, as well as his will. Soon after the war, Eddie came to Australia with nothing. He worked hard, raised a beautiful family, volunteered his time to the community, and rebuilt his life. He appreciates every day, and he teaches us to appreciate every day that we have. He conducts himself with such dignity, despite the degradation he experienced. He is a living example to children and to us all of hope and resilience, positivity, appreciation, respect, hard work, friendship, which he talks a lot about, and love. A truly remarkable man who we all look up to with so much admiration and pride. Eddie made a vow to himself that if he survived the war, he would smile every day. Eddie, I know you live up to this promise, and I hope that you'll tell our guests about it as you just told the kids in the assembly. And for this, you are known as the happiest man on earth. His lesson to us is that you must not hate. He has taught us that hate is a disease that destroys not just your enemy, but yourself. He wants us to take hate out of the vocabulary. Eddie has volunteered at the Jewish Museum for more than 25 years, talking to hundreds of groups of children and adults alike, both Jewish and non-Jewish. He gave a TED Talk to an audience of 6,500 people, which was so successful that it has turned into a documentary. Eddie travels to Canberra regularly to speak to our armed forces and regularly speaks to our Moriah students, including our IST students, before they depart for Poland and Israel in Year 10. His resounding message is to be happy, to find pleasure in giving and helping others, to love and cherish what you have and who you have, and to make this world a better place. His impact is so powerful. I just want to share with you an excerpt from a letter that one of our past Moriah students wrote to Eddie after hearing him speak a few years ago. Dear Eddie Jaku, my name is Raquel. I go to Moriah College in Sydney, Australia, and recently heard you speak at my school. I'm writing this letter to show you how much you impact the youth. One sentence you said has stuck in my mind. You said, your generation are the last to hear the story firsthand. You are all the listeners. Hearing these words truly instilled a responsibility in my mind. I promise the following: to pass forth the story until I no longer can, to honour those who perished and those who can't tell their story firsthand, to ensure that the generation after me will never forget the horror and remember our strength. Your speech inspired me, affected, motivated, and related to me on so many levels. I will forever cherish your words of guidance. Thank you, Eddie, for your reassurance, encouragement, and pure brilliance. I will never forget you. This is one of literally hundreds of letters that Eddie has received from the children who he speaks to. His impact is immeasurable. We've just heard Eddie, as I said, speak to our high school students and impart invaluable life lessons to them. Our students are so fortunate. I'm not sure if they realise, perhaps they don't, how fortunate they have to have learned from you, to have had the opportunity to hear from you firsthand and to hear your lessons as well as your story that you've imparted on them of resilience, endurance, kindness, empathy, and positivity. As he approaches his 100th birthday, Eddie continues to inspire all those who meet him. So with that, I would now like to call on the college president, Stephen Jankelowitz, to say a few words to you, Eddie, and then it will be my great pleasure to present you with a plaque as a gesture of our admiration, support, and appreciation for all that you have done for all of us. And then really what you came for, we'll have the privilege to hear from Eddie himself. Stephen.
Good morning, everyone. I feel incredibly honoured to be standing here as president of Moriah College, one of the most important institutions in the Jewish community that will ensure Jewish continuity and the strength of the Sydney and the Australian community. And to be able to pay tribute to Eddie Jaku, a cherished and loved member of our community, and just the most beautiful and exceptional human being. He always looks impeccably dressed, with a beautiful smile on his face, And when the school captains actually walked Eddie into the auditorium this morning, they said they couldn't keep up with him, he was walking so fast. Eddie didn't think that he would survive the war, but he did, and he believes that he was saved so that he could tell the truth about the Holocaust, about the atrocities that took place, and to ensure that future generations do not forget. Eddie has taught us that we must and we should not forget the murder and the slaughter of over 1/3 of our people and the horrific things that can happen when we stop caring. In the words of Eddie, if we don't learn from the past, we will have no future at all. Eddie has had an enormous impact on so many people's lives. He has the remarkable capacity to move from telling the story of unspeakable horrors to encouraging us to celebrate the joys of life. Having endured the unendurable, Eddie's message is that life is a gift that we must embrace and that we must enjoy every single day. We must be kind to each other. We must cherish our family. We must cherish our friends. And when Eddie addresses our Moriah students, they sit in absolute silence and in awe as they listen to this incredibly important lesson that he imparts, lessons that will help shape their lives. And I've had the privilege of hearing Eddie speak on numerous occasions, and each time I get more emotional, and yet I get more inspired every time I listen to him. In year 10, our students take part in the Hans Kimmel essay competition in contemporary Jewish history, and unsurprisingly, they often choose to write about Eddie as their subject. And our Moriah graduates have been known to continue their relationship with Eddie long after they have left their college. Eddie, we owe you so much. You have taught us to reject hate, bitterness, and anger, and to respond instead with love, with warmth, and with compassion. You have encouraged us to make the world a better place. You have taught us the importance of resilience, of hope, and of positivity. It is no wonder that you are nominated as the kindest, happiest, and most helpful 2020 New South Wales Senior of the Year. I'm sure everyone in this room feels the same way as I do when I say to you that you are a true inspiration. Eddie, on behalf of Moriah College, I pay tribute to you. You are a shining light to us all. I'd like to now call Judy back to present you with the plaque as a tribute to your remarkable life and to your indelible contribution to the world.
We could go on and on and on, but we need to hear from you. Eddie, would you please honour me by coming forward? This is, I'll come over here. I'm sure you have so many awards and prizes, so this one hopefully will but it comes to you with love, particularly from all the students, and I'll read the inscription to you.
Thank you.
It says, presented to Mr. Eddie Jaku, OAM, the happiest man on earth. Mazel tov on your upcoming 100th birthday and 2020 New South Wales Senior Australian of the Year nomination. You are a true inspiration and a role model for Jewish students and adults alike.
Thank you.
Thank you. I asked Eddie earlier if he'd seen the movie Benjamin Button, and he said, of course. And I was sitting there thinking to myself, looking at you, you are going backwards in time, and you have so much still to do. May you continue to do it in good health.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, new friends, I'm very moved and happy. 82 years ago, I never thought that one day I would stand here, free. 75 years ago, I lost my freedom, my dignity, and today you have given me the opportunity to speak to 800 young students, which represents 800 Jewish families. This is for me something I will never forget, even if I live 1,000 years. I have seen the destruction of wonderful people. I have written just a few words which I want to read to you. To repeat such things remains a critical necessity, keeping people of our time from forgetting the price we paid for freedom, 6 million innocent men, women and children. Yes, children. 1.5 million of them murdered in open fires by a brutal, fanatic, cynical and mad regime of a civilized country. Why? Please remember this. If it can happen in Germany, it can happen anywhere. I say to many students, it's better to make pity than envy. I shouldn't say that to you, because we all dream wealth. But I tell you, that's how it starts, jealousy. We haven't learned the lesson properly. I repeat, it's better to make pity than envy. Richness has not to be advertised. Bescheiden in German and in Yiddish, bescheiden. God help us if something goes wrong in this country. I don't tell you what can happen. I had to live for 5 years, far away from my parents, crying every night. Why? My father used to say to me, Eddie, on the phone, I know it's hard, but one day you will be very grateful. And I tell you a secret. If I would have come from home to Auschwitz, I'm dead in 3 months. And I lived 2.5 years there. Because I had to look from 13.5 to 18.5 on my own. Worried that they find out I'm not Walter Schleif, I'm Eddie Jaku. With lovely parents. When I graduated as one of the finest mechanics in surgical instruments, I got a blue robe and white lace, and my master was the same dress. And he said, today the apprentice, Walter Schleif, is accepted in one of the finest unions. That's not a union like here. It's an honor to be inscribed in a hall in Germany. It's a whole ceremony. And I started crying. And my mother checked me. I thought he's going to kill me. Why are you crying? You should be happy. That is an honor. But I couldn't tell him I have 2 lovely mother and father, 800 kilometers away. Why aren't they next to me? How can I? Do you understand? I had a terrible time. And that is why I want the children who sometimes say, oh, life is not worth living, and this is no good, and this is no good. I come in. I'm saved for a reason. I believe very strongly. What I do is for me and for my mom. My mom, she can speak to me. She will tell me, do that for me. I come from a very large family. My mom was from 13 children and my father from 10. And we all struggled. We lived in a wonderful city. We had a wonderful Jewish community. We had the Karlebach Schule. My rabbi was Karlebach. I belonged to it. We were very religious. Sorry, I'm not. My religion stayed in Auschwitz. I'm Jewish, but not religious. But I'm a strong believer. If you go to Israel, in Givat Brenner is the biggest kibbutz, you find my father's name, Isidor Jakubowicz, is on the wall as one of the 9 Jewish persons who came in 1922 to Palestine and bought the land where is today the biggest kibbutz in Israel. Whenever I was going there, I stay in this kibbutz and they give me a little house. Stay as long as you have. I'm welcome. And on Oneg Shabbat, the people come with a tie or bow tie because they're yakkers, like me. No. Look, I believe to be dressed well. When I go to schools, I like to present like you said, a robot. But I'm very moved today. You have given me something I never have dreamt of. You haven't given me back my hope that not everything is bad. You have given me the chance to speak to 700 Jewish children, or 800, which is wonderful. And I hope, as you say, Hashem, will give me a few more years to continue my work. I like what I'm doing. My boss is there. Norman, I continue. And I praise children. I'm not better, but I'm different to the other survivors. I don't speak about horror. I speak about life. Life is so important. And this is why I speak to children like you have. They don't speak when I speak. I speak. 95% of my listeners are not Jewish. I want to show them that hate is a disease. You don't know. You know. One of your family has survivors and survived by being in ghettos. But the children, it's not their fault. Education starts at home. Rabbi Schmachel can tell you, in 2005 when I came here, then all the rubbish in the truth. I say, Rabbi, why is it so dirty? And Rabbi said, the parents of the children said, we spend too much money on cleaners. So we want to show them, when we have no cleaners, what happened. So I took a bag and I put 30 or 40 of those little things in a bag. No one came to help me. Why? If I was a young man in Moriah, I would say, Eddie, can I help you? No. And then I said in my speech, when you come home now today, you tell your parents, Eddie Jaku has said, you are arrogant. Because if you teach your children to be tidy, like I do, I would give them a smack. They throw something on the floor. And so they wouldn't have to have cleaners in the garden. No, I'm just repressing you. It's wonderful to be here. Thank you, Judy. You have organized everything. I appreciate more than you will ever know. You have given me back today something I was missing for a long time. Thank you.
It is my honor really to thank Eddie, Andre, Eva, Carly for coming today, friends and community members and people who have come really to honor Eddie and honor, as Mrs. Good said, really a living legacy. And I was thinking about a comment you just said about talking to 800 future Jewish families, actually closer to 900 future Jewish families. And I think about the honor we have as educators here at Moriah every day to continue to shape that future and the impact that we have every day. I was trying to sum up what Eddie's done. Just listening, I'm not sure if Eddie remembers this, although it's extraordinary to hear the detail with which you remember that middle school assembly that you spoke in 15 years ago, when we actually did put a pile of rubbish on the stage from the kids at lunchtime, and Carly shaking her head because she remembers that. And I was trying to sum up what you've been doing. And the words pioneer of hope. Just pioneer of hope. So many people in our world go through life and they think, if only we could, if I had a holiday, if I got that house, if my children or grandchildren, if only then I could be, then this would happen. If only then. If only I could be happy then. And one of the messages that Eddie's actually, and he hasn't said these words, but I'm just trying to listen through the being that you're saying, is that first, be happy. Then you will attract all of the successes, all of the beauty, all of the reflection of the joy and the happiness of the people all around you. Like King David and King Shlomo said, Kamayim panim el panim, that the face, the heart, and the soul reflect back that which they are facing. So when you embrace the world and people around you with joy and happiness, they cannot help but reflect that back to you. Thank you, Eddie. As they say in Yiddish, although my father was also born in Germany and he's German, but he never taught me German, he taught me Yiddish, so I'm sorry, but bis 120, in good health, making sure that the youngsters have to continue to run after you, continue to be that pioneer of hope and joy and happiness, and really teaching people not to take anything for granted, but to truly appreciate everything that they have. Thank you, everybody, for coming here today. Thank you, Judy, and to the foundation team. Thank you, Stephen, and to the entire Moriah board and all the trustees and everybody that really worked so hard to make everything happen behind the scenes. And we welcome and invite everyone to enjoy the morning tea. Thank you, everybody.